interrupt your program to bring you this important podcast. How to 911.
Can you put me out of service on a podcast, please?
Hey guys.
Sami's doing the intro now.
It is the intro now. Welcome back. This is a super special episode. I feel like I say that every single episode.
It is, but we have a super special guest this time.
Yes. And before we get to our guest, just a reminder, I am Sami.
I'm Erica.
Perfect. And our special guest today is a sergeant with the police department in which we dispatch for, and I will let him talk for himself.
Welcome,
Hello.
mystery
What am I
sergeant.
supposed to say?
Who are you?
Edit that out.
You get it already.
I'm Sergeant Ryan with the Loveland Police Department. I've been here for 14 years, and I've been a cop for 18 years.
Perfect. Where did you work before?
I worked at the Colorado State Patrol in the Larimer County office.
Perfect. So, what did you do there?
I was a trooper, so just basically traffic stuff, investigate crashes, DUIs, that sort of thing.
Did you enjoy that?
I did. It was fun for the period of time that I did it for, and then I wanted to branch out and do some other things. And in the State Patrol, they're very limited in the extra collateral assignments that you can do, and so I wanted to play around a little bit more, and I loved living in Loveland, so I said let's try Loveland and see how that works out.
Perfect.
What'd you do before that?
I was a Denver County deputy in the jail for less than a year, and then that was my first job coming out of college, so
Wow. So law enforcement.
pretty much.
Huh. That's fun.
Is it something that you always thought you would do, or?
In the same realm, I kind of initially, as a kid, you see TV and you see, everybody, the media stuff and everything, and you're kind of like, I want to be a federal agent. And then you start to understand things as you go through the process about what everybody does and what's required of that job, and then you start modifying slightly, and that's kind of how I ended up here, because I realized what they have to do and the moving requirements and how they can just ship you around wherever they want to go. And like I said, I really liked where I lived, and so I decided to kind of change what I was doing, but I really liked policing, so that's how I ended up here.
Perfect. Do you like your job?
I love my job.
Why?
Why
do you like your job?
It is my job is fun. I mean, you get into it for a particular reason, and of course we all get into this job. You guys got into this job because we wanted to help people, and you think that you want to make a difference, and that's why I got into it initially. And then you start realizing how you can help and where your role is, and so that it starts to morph into different versions of help and being part of a community and being part of a solution. And honestly, sometimes some of the best calls I can go to is when I can work out a problem that citizens are having. And it may be something really, really that we look at as stupid, but it means a lot to those people. And so when you can help work on a problem together, and you can actually solve some crime and make everybody feel content, then it does add some satisfaction to your job.
Yeah.
I love my job because it's different every day, and I'm sure you guys probably run into the same thing. So it's always a different day, whether it be a slow day or a busy day or crazy calls or all civil calls and dog barking things all day. It's never the same, and I love that.
Yeah. What's your least favorite part of this job?
I think the paperwork.
That's such a cop answer.
I do not like being in the office, and
Yeah.
even as you promote, the higher you go, the more time you spend in the office. And so when I promoted to sergeant, all of a sudden half of my job became the office, and and that's not why I got in the job, to sit in an office and do paperwork and have the same thing every day. So, so I would say that that's the most frustrating thing to me. There's always things that going on in society and these events like we're having right now. I mean, it's very tough. It's very difficult, and all the complaints that start rolling in, and that type of stuff is hard. But it's not. It hasn't changed. We've gone into these ebbs and flows about with police work, and so it just seems like part of it now. But it's the overwhelming paperwork, and it just gets more and more every time something like this happens. You got to do more paperwork or more training or more, and that's just more office time.
Yeah, I know. Me and Erica, I think, were talking the other day that, you know, you are one of the sergeants that were like is always going to calls and it's like always like driving the streets. Not that you're the only sergeant, but you're like one of them that we like notice. Like, oh, of course Ertman's doing something else.
And that means because I have stuff to do, and I'm trying to avoid it. So I avoid it by going out and answering calls. I can't be in here doing this because I've.
Is that what you did 2 weeks ago when you bailed on us?
I wouldn't call it a bail. I'd say there was calls on the screen.
They were
They needed to be answered.
Sure, I guess
right.
you guys were a little busy that night.
Fine.
Oh gosh. So we're gonna get more into you being a sergeant. How long have you been a sergeant for?
Approximately 7 years.
Jeez.
That's not the right math.
I believe that's the right math. Don't count me. Maybe
Okay, well
count
it's just
that.
recorded, so.
Okay, all right. I
I
guess that's true.
Permanently
You
put
are-
out into the world.
I'm
7.
officially on record. 7 years.
Oh gosh. Why did you become a sergeant?
That's a good question. I think it's just the next step. I felt like I had done a lot of things. Working in the state patrol, I'd focused my attention on traffic, so I was ultimately a traffic unit here. I spent 5 years in patrol here, and so I got some experience there. I spent some time in the bureau, and then it just seemed like it was the next logical step to do, and it's kind of it's fun because I get to pick the calls I get to go to now, and that makes a big difference. But yeah, it just seemed like a logical progression.
Okay, so I know we talked about like the paperwork and stuff, but like is there anything that you think the public should know what you do as a sergeant? Because I don't think people really, like, I don't really understand. I know that you are in charge of officers.
Right. Yes, I am. Also, I believe it's. I guess as a sergeant, you're more about resource management, and when you're talking completely distancing yourself from the officers in their personal capacity, I have to provide a service to the community, and I have to make sure that we have the people, we have the prioritization of calls, and that we're applying our resources, which is officers at that point, to the problems that need attention. And we focus a lot on data-driven policing here, which means if we have data that's showing that there's a problem, I need to be able to know where that problem is and then know how to direct my resources to that problem. And so I would say I'm more of an organization or organizer and a facilitator in the sense of trying to make sure that all of the problems are being addressed and being addressed appropriately. Sometimes that means I have to say that this call does not have the same priority as this call. So I have to say I need officers to this one and this one has to sit. It's not a great answer. You'd like to know that every call has the same amount of importance, but that's one of the things that I have to do.
Gotcha. So what else do you do besides be a sergeant in the Loveland Police Department?
I'm an instructor in our defensive tactics, and I am on the bomb squad.
Let's talk about defensive tactics.
Okay.
What does that entail?
I guess it's just teaching officers the way to use force, the legalities of force, and the way to get our job done when people don't want to comply in a manner that's safe for not only the officers but also the citizens and the people that we're arresting. I mean, we're in charge of their safety as well. So we have to be able to use force but use it judiciously in order to make sure that everybody our mission is accomplished in the sense of that the person is placed in custody and the scene is made safe, and that's it. And then we can proceed with the rest of the criminal justice system. But in order to do that, you have to have a safe scene, and you have to have individual safety among the officers as well as the suspect. So we teach just different tactics and different maneuvers and stuff that you can do to maximize that while minimizing the chance of the injury.
Gotcha. Are officers required to do that, or is it voluntary?
It's required. Every officer has to go through training throughout the year during our in-service.
Gotcha. Okay. Bomb squad. I know that's what everybody really wants to hear about.
Bomb squad.
Okay.
Tell us about
Tell
What
us
do you want to know about
You
Bomb
know
Squad?
what? Just tell us everything about Bomb
it.
Squad.
How'd you get involved? Why?
I just wanted to blow stuff up.
Okay.
I mean, who doesn't, really?
Yeah.
I mean...
4th of July is coming up, I'm sure. Half of America would agree with you.
Well, then there's the other half that doesn't like the noise. So. Yeah, it was something that, again, I mentioned when I wanted to come from being a trooper, I wanted to do some other stuff. And that was very interesting to me, and I didn't know anything about it. I was never in the military. I've never played with explosives. It's only been fireworks at that. And I just wanted to try something different. And so got into it and realized that it's fun. It's just there's a lot of responsibility that goes with that. And I think that part surprised me a little bit more because I thought I was just going to get to go out and blow things up.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be high stress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's a pipe bomb in my hands. What now?
you come to terms with your mortality very quickly, and then
great.
you just understand that. And once that's said and done, it's all good to go.
Perfect.
I always tell people when I'm up there dealing with explosives or a device or whatever, that's the most peaceful moment, because that means that if something bad happens, I don't have to do the paperwork.
Oh my goodness.
It's done.
The more I think about it, the funnier it is.
I guess the lesson is I don't like paperwork.
Okay,
I think
perfect.
we've
No
made
paper.
that very clear
Yeah,
today.
Perfect.
Is there a lot of schooling?
Yeah, I was about to ask that.
It is. We have to go through 6 weeks of training in Huntsville, Alabama, and which is
the only place you can go?
yes,
Hmm.
it's run by the FBI,
Okay.
and so everybody in the nation goes to that one school, and it's a wonderful place to spend 6 weeks. So if you have an opportunity, I recommend it.
Yeah. A lot of stuff to do in your downtime?
Oh yeah, the stuff to do. Weather's great.
Good. Yeah.
So, lots of humidity.
Beautiful.
Yeah, very nice. But we all go through that training, and there is approximately, I think there's just under 3,000 bomb techs within the nation.
Hmm.
What?
And they've all gone through that school.
What? 3,000?
Correct.
In the nation?
Mhm.
That seems really small.
I mean, I don't know. It just depends on the area. Everybody, the FBI determines what areas get what for bomb resources.
How?
So it's like concentrated, like say in bigger cities or.
Yeah, every city, depending on their call load, depending on their amount of resources that they can give, depending on their setup, I'm sure there's an algorithm that I know nothing about. That's how they determine who gets what, and whether you get a full-time team or a collateral team. For instance, we are a collateral team, so everybody has their own duties, their own jobs, and then they do the bomb squad on the side,
Mhm.
and that's how most of the squads are throughout the nation.
Hmm.
So if you're like in this little town in like northern, I don't know, Wyoming, because it's super unpopulated.
Is it Colorado?
I'm just thinking of like chances are they don't have a bomb squad, so then they'd have to like reach out to the nearest bomb squad to get assistance. That sucks.
Yeah, and so we, for example, we're regional. So Larimer County and Jackson County are our response areas, and then there's a team in Weld County, there's a team in Boulder County, and so we have. And that's usually how most states do it. They have some sort of regional team. Unfortunately, some teams have a ridiculously large area that is hard to manage, and so you may be traveling to a call for hours. But that just depends on the area and their call load. So I don't understand how it all works. I just know that we all get the same training.
Mhm.
So the nice thing is if we do have an incident, we can work together. I mean, we've all been through the same schooling. We have almost the exact same equipment, and we've had people from other counties assist us.
Mhm.
And so it's very easy to work together for large scale problems, and that's how the FBI has designed it, I'm sure.
Curious question, and we can edit it out if you want. How many bombs have you actually had to in person respond to?
So it's a good question, and we get that a lot, and it's hard to answer because bomb to me means something different.
Yeah.
And I look at it as a hazardous item.
Mhm.
And so we have dealt from anywhere from homemade explosives all the way to commercial explosives, and varying degrees of danger within those things. And then maybe it's something as simple as somebody finding commercial blasting caps in something that they just purchased from a thrift store, right? And we have to take possession of that and get rid of it safely. Chemicals often can be dangerous after being left in the science lab for years and years and years in the back, and they start to crystallize, and then they actually turn into something else, which could be explosive. And then, of course, you have the people that are trying to make homemade explosives. And so, I mean, we go to about 24 to 36 calls a year. That doesn't mean they're all bombs. It means they're either recoveries of something dangerous, military ordnance of some kind, or sometimes it's a suspicious package. And so it just depends on the year. But that's kind of an average is where we sit.
I feel like I've never taken any one of those 24 to 36 calls. So where are these coming from?
Like mystery calls.
Yeah.
Well, they come from all over, so that's the other part. It's like Loveland may only have a couple, but then you have Fort Collins may have some, and then
I see.
Larimer County has some, and so that spreads it out, and then all of a sudden now it's definitely not that much.
So you're just like on call all the time for all these different areas?
Yes, we have an on-call person every month that takes the phone calls.
Dang.
How many people are on the team?
We have 6 technicians, and then we have some auxiliary personnel. So I think it's a total of about 15 people.
Do you have continuing education? Like
Yes.
Yeah.
So just like SWAT does, they do their little they do training twice a month. We do the same thing. We train twice a month. We have to do 40 hours throughout the year, and then plus the initial 6 weeks I was telling you about. So it's constant, ongoing, and they're always talking about the new trends and new things that are happening, and what the rest. Everybody's trying to be connected, and that's really good, because when you know what's happening in other areas, you know if you see it, what you have to look out for.
Any other questions you have?
No, it's fascinating.
It's
Super fascinating.
fun.
Can the dispatch be in bomb squad?
Can we watch some of these trainings?
You can certainly come out when we do you could even do an episode of coming out and seeing us do
When's your next training?
disposals.
Yep.
Well, it's got to be a disposal.
Okay, when's your next disposal?
We haven't scheduled it yet.
Tell us as soon as you know.
All right. It's hard to feel the explosion on a podcast. I'm just gonna let you know that.
We will describe it well.
Okay.
Or, yeah, we've been talking about maybe having other outlets of our talks, conversations.
Other media.
Other media, that's a better way to put it.
Other media.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the tube of use.
Use on the tube.
Yep.
All right.
But it's,
So it sounds like video of some sort. You might be
maybe.
like
May have heard of it.
Hard maybe.
Has anyone asked anyone if this would be a possibility?
But the most I've asked is the one I told you that I asked, and I've gone no further.
I feel like this is like a code.
I'll talk to him tomorrow.
See,
Okay.
this is why I have Erica. She does the hard talks for me because I'm like, I don't want to do it to people.
And I just hang out here now. I'm like, yeah, that's a good question.
It's a perfect dynamic.
Yes.
This is a tough question.
Okay, well, but you just said that that's her department, so I mean, should she
Do you want to ask the next question?
or should...
Is it about dispatch?
It is.
What we do well?
Yes.
Yes. What do we do well?
Good. I was wondering if this is going to come back to dispatch. I felt like I was getting way too much of the attention. This is a...
I mean, we
This is
gotta.
a
We
911
have to have
podcast,
some
right?
attention.
Right, yes.
Right.
I mean, we love recording ourselves and listening to us talk.
I do.
I don't.
Okay, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
What does dispatch do well?
I've had some time to think about it now. That
Yes.
we've stalled.
Divert.
Yes, you know, honestly, I think about this on a regular basis.
You think about us a lot.
I think about this question on a regular basis
That's also weird.
because because officers are a very difficult personality in and of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then you try to get them to all talk in the right manner on the radio, and that also is a very difficult thing. And then you get the stress involved, and sometimes people being a little frustrated on the other end of the radio. And I think it's something that would be very difficult for me to not lose my mind in just dealing with how the officers get frustrated or ask questions relentlessly that you are already asking or trying to get. And so we know in the back of our minds how difficult that job is. We've seen the screens up there, and we've seen how much anxiety inducing that is, and just seeing it, let alone doing it and being there. And so when we get really frustrated, we don't think about all the stuff that you guys are also doing. So I think you deal with that very well, and you're very patient with us, and definitely with callers, because that's hard. And when you're dealing with somebody who's going through probably the worst time of their lives, at least in the recent history of what they're dealing with, and you guys have to be so calm, cool, collected, and deal with all of that over the radio. I think it's phenomenal. I think the multitasking ability that you guys have is amazing, and I could never do it. So let's just be clear about that.
It's a good answer.
Yeah, I know.
It's a great answer.
Perfect.
It didn't
answer.
take me long. It did. All I had to do was walk in there and realize I could never do that job.
And you're like, nope.
Nope. One task at one time. That's all I had.
Paperwork, one sheet at a time.
Yes.
Finish
Yes.
it.
That is exactly it.
Well, good. So the other part of that is, so thank you for that. That is nice.
That was very nice.
Yeah. I hope that we are patient.
I always wonder in the back of
People.
my head if, like, I know that they know, but it's just like, do they know that I have 600 other things I'm doing right now?
Well, we also know when y'all are laughing too. So I mean, I'm very good at picking that up, and I don't say anything because obviously I don't want to put you on the air. But we know when you're like, that's a really stupid question, but you're really answering in a way that, yes.
How is it that you know? Because it's our tone of voice, or because we take an extra second to pee?
Yes. All of those things.
Do you, like, learn our voices on the radio?
Yes, and it's obviously that's counterintuitive to what we normally do as people, and so we spend most of our time listening, and then it's hard to actually put faces with that a lot of times, and so yeah, you learn by the air, and you can pick it up actually probably easier than most because you hear it all the time, and it's
Right.
in your ear.
In my ears.
All the time. So what is something that we could improve upon?
I was waiting for that one. Not
Okay,
because I
then-
have an answer, but because I knew that was coming. I don't know. That one's difficult.
You don't think
because-
about that one all the time like the other one?
No, I always think about the good stuff.
That's good.
Bad stuff is just, why dwell on it?
True.
There you go.
I would say there's, this is, yes.
Oh, of course.
Yes, I got a good one.
Hold on, let me just jump out this window.
He's like, you
No,
specifically.
and actually it was a newer dispatcher that I'm not very familiar with, but I know the voice and I could pick it up anytime. Is it just really fast, and
Oh.
and sometimes and there are people who have been doing it longer who they're just like, okay, I'm bored with this. I've aired this stuff in for so many times, and then it starts to mumble together.
Yes.
And that's hard. But then there's some who are really fast in reading everything or giving out the information. And we're trying to do a lot of things. And as I told you, we're not capable of doing a lot of
It's like
things.
you multitask?
No. So I'm trying to drive and not crash. I'm trying to manage the computer and not crash, and listen and not crash. And all those things don't always work together. So it's hard to get all that stuff at the same time. Sometimes I want to just say, can you air that one more time, because I can't read this because I'm driving, but I know that that's frustrating too. So that's the only thing I would say that I think a lot of officers at different times with different dispatchers get frustrated with is our inability to clearly hear the information, because that's so important to know what information we have before we get there. It dictates how we react when we are there.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, I think that you should, like, if you feel comfortable doing that, because I have to ask you guys to repeat intersections or license plates or something. So if you can't understand me, I would want you to tell me that you can't understand me and have me repeat it, because I don't want you to go into a situation where you're like, ugh, she said it so fast, but I don't want to make her repeat it because they sound busy or whatever, but do.
And maybe eventually they'll learn, oh, maybe I shouldn't talk so fast, or whatever the problem is.
But I do that with officers, and I think that if I talk to them slower, like, insert number here, can you repeat your plate? I still don't get it. I still get it as fast as they said it the first time. So me being like, hey, you said that kind of fast. Can I get it one more time? Doesn't mean that they're like, oh yeah, sorry. Blah, 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 blah. I get blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, I think I got it that time. So
Yes. And just everybody's got their attention on so many other things, and that's what you have to once you put it into perspective, and you've been doing it for a while, you get that, and you start to understand everybody's job. But that's absolutely true. I will try to do it over the phone instead of the air, because some people get sensitive.
yeah, so don't do it with me.
Right.
Just kidding. For the record, you can. Since I said you should.
But off the record?
Yeah. Edit this out.
Oh, okay. What? Oh, there's a typo on here. It's fine. What do you want the public to know about LOL? Oh. Why do you trust me to talk?
Why are you mumbling after we just talked about being mumbles?
We did just talk about that.
What do you want the public to know about Loveland Police Department and the officers and dispatchers? I'm just kidding.
You can separate that out.
Yeah.
Wow, there's a lot. That's a lot to answer. I think my answer can be put into bulk, and it's referring to everything. It's referring to dispatch. It's referring to our training. It's referring to DT, how we are on patrol, use of force. I mean, it applies to everything, and I do believe that this agency is spectacular, and we try to be spectacular. And I'm not saying we don't make mistakes, and I'm not saying that there's not things we couldn't do better, but when you look at how some other agencies that have bigger budgets, more people, more things, more abilities, and you see what they're doing wrong and you see what we're doing right, the public should be very, very proud of what their money and their time and their community orientation and their support is going into. It's why I'm still here. You get here and you realize that this is how policing should be done, and we try to do it how it needs to be done, and it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to be a part of. So I would say that would be the best thing, because people don't always get to see it. Not everybody calls the police. Not everybody. If you call, hopefully you're going to get really good service from this agency. That's what we strive for, and I think. But again, I hope people don't have to.
Well said.
Yes.
What is your proudest moment during your career?
This podcast.
Oh my goodness.
I was expecting that. If we had any other answer, I would have.
So before 30 minutes ago, what was your proudest moment of your career?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen as you go through your career that you're proud of, and some of the things people would look at you and think you're weird for thinking that. So I don't know. I'm proud of where I am in the sense of what I've done here at this agency. I think it's very rewarding to be part of an agency that you genuinely feel that good about, and as I explained. So I'm just proud I'm still here. I'm still have a job here. That's
Maybe not after this podcast has been released. I'm just
yeah. You can edit that out. That's fine.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
It says 32 minutes.
right. I think I'm out of questions. We
Yeah.
don't have any more questions on here.
Okay, well then
Do you have
that's-
any questions?
That means there are no more questions, no?
Do you have anything that you
Do
want
you
to
have
say?
any more hard questions? I mean, because I feel like that's what I don't feel like.
Do you want to talk about dispatch more?
Yeah, let's talk about dispatch.
Yeah, last minute.
Okay. I don't know when this is coming out, so I don't know what's going to be the next episode, but you guys
You
should be
listen.
subscribed and all that shindig anyways. I don't have a script in front of me. I'm going to mess all this up. Follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at Loveland Emergency Communication Center. We're on Instagram at How-To-911 Podcast. You can email us any questions that you have, and even questions that you have for Sergeant Ertman. We can make sure that he gets that, and we will
Follow up.
follow up. The email is howto911@cityofloveland.org. I feel like I'm forgetting something before the end. No?
That's
Okay,
nice.
well, I'm done then. I always mess this up when I don't have a piece of paper in front of me. Okay, see you guys next time. Until then, know where you are, know your phone number, and tell us exactly what happened.